Hello everyone, I'm Chris Sawyer with KGFI RADIO, your worldwide #1 radio station. Today, we are here to have an insightful and intimate conversation with a legend. A man who is more than just his music, he's the man who taught us how to express ourselves. He made people dance all over the world, and artists today still sample his music. He also has a new book. It's called Up From Where We Come. You gotta get this book. This is a great, great book. He talks about growing up as a son of a sharecropper in his deep South, racism, and his harsh life as a child. He is indeed an innovator, a great leader, a teacher, a strong, strong, strong black man. I bring to you, with honor and pleasure, one of the greatest entertainers that ever lived, in my humble opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Mr. Charles Wright. Mr. Wright, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. How you doing?
Okay.
Introduction like that, I have to be great.
My man. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting KGFI to your wonderful, wonderful home. You have such a lovely, lovely home here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Pretty damn good.
Oh, that's good. You're looking good. You're looking good. One of the questions I would love to ask you is that, as you know, social media is very strong. A lot of artists are independent today, which means that they have control of, of their own music. Okay. What's your opinion about the dynamic change in the music industry in terms of artists doing their own thing, promoting their own music? What's your opinion about that in terms of in the time of which you came up in?
Well, when I came up, there's about a dozen companies, about 6 huge companies that exploited artists and exploited. When I say exploited, I mean it. A lot of artists didn't get paid. Today, I think the same people are kind of in control, and they let a few artists, selective artists, that say the things that they want to be said survive. And unfortunately, most of the stuff what they're saying is destructive to the neighborhood. I'm an independent, have an independent company of my own, and frankly, I don't really sell a lot of product because I'm not one of those artists that they're allowed to be out there and push trash into the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The music and the lyrics that we hear today sometimes are devastating, and it's not uplifting the neighborhood. I was trying to make music to uplift people and keep people, I still do, keep people happy and healthy. And unfortunately, that day is kind of past right now.
And why is that? I mean, why do you think that day is past? Do you think it's biblical?
By design.
It's by design.
Yes. It's not biblical design, I don't think. I think it's a social design or like a government design, whatever. Every time we make a step as a people, somebody find a way to knock us back down another step. And I find that to be all throughout history. It's one of the reasons I wrote my book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't gotta know where we come from, otherwise we'll never know where we're going. And I came from the second step after slavery, and fortunately I've survived thus far long enough to write this book and another book that I'm writing now. Mm-hmm. And I just want to tell my story. So, and unfortunately, the kids today probably won't even read it. they say you put something you don't want black people to know something, put it in a book.
Yeah.
But this is the only way I knew how to approach it. And I hope people can read it and encourage their children to read it so we can understand how far we have to go before we really get it right. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wrote my book, basically. And it's something I had to get out of my system as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great book. And can you tell the world where they can obtain this particular book?
They can go to Amazon.com right now and purchase the book there. The name of the book is Up From Where We've Come.
Up From Where We Come.
Yeah.
Great, great book. I understand you originally got into music, singing, and writing and producing doo-wop. How did you get from there to the 103rd Street Watts Band?
103rd Street Rhythm Band.
There you go.
I was in 3 different groups, doo-wop groups, and we all had hit records all, but they were all one-hit wonders. In those days, that's what they usually get a hit and then they get you out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became the A&R man at 19 years old for one of the biggest independent record companies in Los Angeles, KGFI Records. And I produced a record, another doo-wop hit called Those Oldie But Goodies Remind Me of You for that company. And I had a deal with the guy that owned the company, but he reneged on the deal. So he didn't pay me for what I did, for my royalties. Told me I was too young. I didn't need that kind of money when the record hit. So I told him, kiss my behind. He'd meet me before I needed him. I left, walked down the stairs. I thought he'd call me back,
Mm-hmm.
He didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was working as A&R man, one night I went to see a band. And this band, they were all dressed in uniform. They looked real nice. They had 4 horns. They were all dancing and stepped with each other. And I said, well, this is what I want to do. So I started a band with 3 guys. And all the other guys that became members of the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band were only guys who came and kept coming back to sit in with us and really wanted to be a part of what we were doing. I ended up with 9 guys. Then we started working in nightclubs around here. Had lines around the club sometimes. We ended up on Hollywood and Vine in a club called the Haunted House.
Mm-hmm.
And now doo-wop, they're fading doo-wop out. So I got to come up with something different. So that's how I came up with the music that the Watts Band made. I had to take another step further. James Brown was doing some of the same stuff, but he only had 1 or 2 changes in his music.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it that kind of funk with popular changes to the music. If you listen to Love Land
Mm-hmm.
or some of my music, earlier music like that, everybody give me credit for Express Yourself. But Love Land I thought would be the song that would last forever. Maybe it will, so far it just ain't caught on. But Do Your Thing was a bigger record even than Love Land. People forget about that. That was our first major hit. We had a hit called Spreading Honey before that. You remember Spreading Honey?
Spreading Honey.
Yeah, instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, I had to take it a little further, and that's what I did with the band. And it was not the easiest thing to do because I started the band with nightclub musicians. Now I gotta make them into recording musicians. But it worked out all right. We had 9 charted records.
How did the song Express Yourself come about, and why do you think it has endured for nearly 50 years?
Well, it came about, we were performing at Texas A&M one night,
Mm-hmm.
and we were performing the song Do Your Thing, which was big record at the time. And Do Your Thing comes to the rough end. When it ended, the kids kept stomping and clapping and stomping. I don't know what made me say it, but only God made me say it. I said, express yourself. They went crazy. I said, oh. So I said it a few other times, they went even crazier. So I said, well, I went to the hotel that night and I sat down with my pen, my guitar. I started writing. By the time I got off the plane the next day, about noon in LA, I had finished it. And I think it endures because everybody wanted to express themselves.
Absolutely.
I sure did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the real story behind NWA sample of Express Yourself? And were you disappointed that they did not ask for your permission in advance of the release? And for the record, let's once and for all quash the rumor that you are the father of Eric Wright, aka Eazy-E. Can you talk about that?
First, I am not the father of Eazy-E. I don't know how that got on Wikipedia or wherever it is. I am not Eazy. Kid is not my son. So we get that clear.
And I remember that. That was a big rumor.
Yeah, I know it's still going around. Kid is not my son. But that was about 1985, 86.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, my royalties had all dried up. I wasn't getting no no royalties hardly at all anymore. And so I told my wife, who agreed, I better get me a job. So she was working at a bank, and she was in the merchant department. So she got a card that she brought home from this guy who had a trucking company. And so I called him in. He interviewed me, maybe 20, 30 minutes. He's gonna give me this truck driving job. Mm-hmm. So just before I got off the phone, he said, what have you been doing before? I said, music. He said, are you the Charles Wright? I said, I think so. He said, I can't give you this job. I said, man, I need the job. I can't give you this job. I ain't gonna give you this job. You need to keep doing what you do. Don't you ever stop doing that. 2 weeks later, my son called me. Dad, you got a hit record. I said, I've been listening to radio. I ain't heard no hit record. He says, NWA. I said, I don't know who they are. So I hung up the phone. A couple of days later, called me back. Dad, you got a hit record. They selling out of trumpet cars while you heard it on the radio. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go down here to the record store and see what this is about. So I walk out my door, the little kid lives next door to me. He come by in his jalopy playing Express Yourself by NWA. So I go over to his driveway and say, man, that's my song. Charles, you old school. This is the new shit here. I said, but that's my song. Man, come on, you old school. This is way beyond. I said, let me see that. Take me a tape out. I'm going to show you what song this is. So I took the tape and looked at it. It says, Express Yourself, written by Ice Cube. He said, I told you it wasn't your song, man. And I went in my house and I called Priority Records. The lady told me, she said, I told them I didn't think they could get away with this. And she gave me Ice Cube number. I called him up and told him what time it was. And he, okay. He couldn't do nothing but say that. Turned my royalties over to me. He was just a kid. He didn't know what he was doing. I guess he thought, I don't know, I perished or something. I don't know what, but he had taken my song. But they made me some money. Then after that, I started making other money. I started getting Nike commercials, Kohl's clothing commercials. I got so many commercials that just kept coming and coming. Ended up, now I got about 80 of them across the world on Express Yourself. And about 30 some odd movies. So I have no reason to complain about anything. God's been really good.
Oh, absolutely, and well deserved. And speaking of movies, I hear that Sony Pictures has just licensed Express Yourself for a big summer film being released this July called the MOG movie. How did that come about? And I trust that they did pay you in advance.
Why would you come up with advance? You must be talking to Greg.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't really paid me in advance. They paid me partial money in advance. They paid me very well, and I'm very thankful for it. And I get on my computer in the morning, I check it out. Like this morning, I had somebody trying to get Express Yourself for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it came about. And I'm thankful for it. I don't know how extensive they're going to use it in the movie, but they've been using it in a commercial for about 3 months now to their ad for this trailer and everything. And I'm very happy with it, whatever happens. Because like I say, they paid me well.
And well deserved, sir. Well deserved.
Thank you.
So what was it like being part of the crazy LA music scene in the 1970s and 80s when LA was the center of the music universe?
For me, it was whirlwind. When you become successful and be purely like you're successful, all kind of things happen. Mm-hmm. The guys you're dealing with, the musicians, their families get involved, their wives start talking stuff, and everybody expects to be paid right away. They're not professional because they don't know how this business works. Nobody gets paid right away. Record companies hold you along to keep your money as long as they can before they pay you. The publishing companies do the same thing. So you have to sustain until then. We were working and we were making pretty good money. But unfortunately, at that time, black artists was not getting their just due. And especially the Watts 103rd Street Band. First place, nobody wanted to see no Watts 103rd Street Band coming, but they just couldn't stop us. That's how strong our music was. And we had hooked up with Bill Cosby, who decided he wanted to sing. So he had us as his backup band. And we go do performances with Bill Cosby. But the people didn't want to see Bill Cosby sing, really. Mm-hmm. They wanted to see him telling jokes. The band, we had some, probably my fault, made some bad decisions on management. I didn't know nothing about a lot of things. I knew nothing about cocaine. I had no idea that somebody approached me one day at the airport. Listen, Charles, turn your head the other way. You got 14 guys traveling with you. Turn your head the other way and don't say anything. They want me to travel on the road and they're gonna ship cocaine with my group. I cussed the man out. You crazy? No way. I'm a musician. I'm not into no bull. And we got to our destination. Guitars was broken, bass amp was kicked in, all kind of stuff like that. I had a manager, the first manager I took him on because he was a black man, but he was hooked up with some other people. And his name of his company, believe it or not, was Pure King Productions. But like me not knowing anything about that kind of stuff, I didn't know that I was getting myself involved with people that was trying to ship cocaine around. So all kind of things happened. After a while, when I fired him, he started a whole lot of stuff back. He had connections. hard parts of my group off in places. And it just finally, he just kind of messed my thing up to where all my original guys, not all of them, but most of them got taken away from me. I have a wonderful band right now, thank God. But it took me years to get that band back in shape like my original band was. Because we've been working, like I say, like on the corner of Hollywood and Boulevard and Vine for 2.5 years. We lined around the corner and we would have a routine for every step that we made. We scared the Temptations when we were on a tour with them, scared them to death.
Wow.
And they wanted to fire their band and have us play with them. That's the truth.
Well, I seen you perform live. Matter of fact, it was in Long Beach, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. Your magic on the stage. You love live performances?
Yeah, but I haven't been doing it enough for the last few years, 20 years or so, because, well, one thing, I don't have to do it. Another thing, it's really a pain in the butt if you gotta travel up and down the road all the time, if you're not making the right kind of money. If you don't have a hit record at this very particular time, you're like in the background, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the problem that I have. I don't want to take a bunch of guys out on the road right now, but I do. I love performing. I live to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start to perform right now. I think I have the right team of people together. I got Greg, Mark, and Ronald, Peaches, and
That's
we're going to
wonderful.
do it.
Charles, black music, aside from hip hop, is nearly extinct on radio now. Why do you think that happened? And is soul music even relevant today?
Soul music.
Soul music.
In my opinion, will always be relevant.
Always. Let's talk about soul.
You tell me, how do we get from Earth, Wind, and Fire, Ohio Players, Rock 103rd Street Band, Function, all those great recordings made by R&B artists during the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, half the 80s. How do we get from there to here? How did you kill something so fantastic? You can't kill it. You can try. Unfortunately, every other race of people on the planet is copying what we've done. But nobody can do it like we can. So the world needs what we have, as much as they try to deny it. You know, Louis Jordan started something called rock and roll way back in early 40s or maybe late 30s. Wow. And look at what they call rock and roll today. Has nothing at all to do with what that man invented and what so many people did. What he did, a lot of people take credit for it. Little Richard take credit for it. Some other people take credit for it. Louis Jordan is the man. He the one that split from jazz to rock and roll. And when they asked him some disc jockey asked him, what's this music that you're making? And he said, it's just a little rock and a little roll. That's how I got the name. But if I go out there today and say I'm playing some rock and roll, they laugh at me. If I go out there today and play some music like that and record it, say, here's my new record, they laugh at me and throw my record in the trash can. But you come up, you got loud stuff, that's not relevant to making you feel good. That's what music is for. Yeah, it's not to make you all erratic and stuff. It's to make you, it's to make you feel good. That's what God gave us this stuff for. Otherwise, we wouldn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think when we start taking it off and trying to make it something that it's not, we're distorting people's brains. Look at what's happening in our neighborhood right now for the trash that we hear. Our children have to hear stuff that they play. They don't have no choice but to hear what they play. Okay? They're playing music made by machines. What do you think that does to the mind? That takes your spirituality away. We need that. We need our spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't wait to ask you this. I have to ask you this. When I was a kid coming up in the 60s and the 70s.
The answer is no.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay. And, as a kid, my dad used to take me to go see James Brown and Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Real music.
The real deal.
Now, I remember going into the arena as a kid, and it's still with me now, but the soul that was in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
During those times.
Oh,
during those times when concerts, they would put posters on telephone poles.
Yeah.
Okay. And during that time. But the soul.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to ask you, can you explain it? I remember Aretha performing and James performing that soul that was just in, and really what it is, when I think about it now, it's history.
Yeah.
It's history. Can you explain that?
It shouldn't be history. It's what we all need now. The world is so confused. All the kind of stuff is going on. People killing each other all over the world. And it ain't necessary. Maybe they think it's necessary. Somebody think it's necessary. Maybe it's a thinning out system. I don't know what's going on. But as far as the confusion and everything, people hating each other, the music is about love. You ain't gonna know Aretha Franklin and James Brown concert and come out of there thinking about fighting to kill nobody, did you?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And when I was doing doo-wop back there, all the groups, there were so many groups in LA. They were in every corner, at every school, they were in the bathroom, they were in the tunnel. We were all practicing harmony. And then we went from harmony to total distortion here. So that's what my complaint is when you ask me, the distortion. Who needs it? We need some harmony here. We need some happiness.
And that's what you produce with Express Yourself. I remember that coming out as a child. It was, it made you feel good.
Yeah.
Even at school, you would hear it in schools, you would hear it in the neighborhoods, you would hear it in black stores, and then black radio was very, very powerful during that time.
Yeah.
And now we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, well, speaking of Express Yourself, I felt good doing it. I had, like I said, a 9-piece group. And one guy in the group, very strong guy, but he just didn't listen sometimes. He had a hard head, and I wanted him to play this certain part on Express, and but he played that, then he get down there and start doing some other stuff, But he did that on Love Land. We recorded Love Land these 40 different days because he just didn't like Love Land. Then one day I tricked him into playing. We've done Sly Stones. We have an instrumental version of Everyday People. And we did it, and it was so good when we got through with it. We were laughing. It was so good. And while I was laughing, I said, love now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it bam, and it happened. That's the one time it happened, great, like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the recording we used. Well, when he started that with Express Yourself, he wouldn't play that right. I took the bass player and the drummer, and I went into a Gold Star studio one Sunday afternoon, and just the three of us played Express Yourself. Oh man, we had a ball playing it. I brought it back on Monday. I brought a tape and played it for the horn section, and Chuck gave them their parts to play. They didn't want to play it. Said, "What nothing, man? We don't want to play this. This ain't nothing." So I threatened them and said, "Well, I used to play in the studio, you know." I said, "I'm gonna get some of my studio, but they'll be glad to play it." So they grumbled and then they played it. After the hit, I think all got dark glasses and stuff, because they want to face me, I guess. But anyway, that song, I guess, is not just the lyrics, it's also the feeling we had when we was playing it. Because I almost feel like I was coming up out of my chair. That's how hard that groove was.
And you're absolutely right, because when I was a child, I felt really, really good, with that song. Yeah. And that song is still with me today.
Thank you.
And you worked with so many amazing legends like Bobby Womack, Leon Haywood, Barry White, Bill Withers, Glen Cambell, even Daryl Dragon from The Captain and Tennille. How was it working with those great artists?
Well, for Daryl Dragon is concerned, I practically taught him everything, Him and his brother played with me for a while. They lived in Malibu and they could get me gigs all up and down the coast. Of course, I learned stuff from most everybody I played with. Bobby Womack, we used to play in the studio together a lot. He had a great touch. I never could attain the touch he has, but I got a little from him. And I'm sure he got something from me. Barry White was our drummer for about a month. There's one of the guys, the horn player in my band. Everybody get in the band, he was like the mother of the band. He'd pick on them. He'd always give them a problem. They'd have to prove that they could withstand his bull before they became a permanent member of the band. And Barry wouldn't take it. After about a month, Barry quit. He was a great drummer, though. But I knew Barry before that, and I've been knowing Barry for years. Glen Cambell, we used to work in the studio playing on everybody else's music. Then all of a sudden he got hot, so playing on his records and some of his concerts. I was a studio musician. I was playing for practically everybody at the time. It was great,
Well, my question was, playing with those artists, how was it working with them? So basically, you're answering the question.
Yeah, it was fine, and like I say, I learned something from practically everybody I played with, and that was my job to learn, because I started out. There's an arranger named Gene Page who arranged all the Barry White stuff, and Gene used to come over to my house. He'd bring a group of people, singers or something, he'd come over to my house at night, and he had me play guitar with these people. He's gonna record them in the morning. And he'd go to the studio in the morning, and I'd go to the studio with him. And he'd have what I'd played written. I couldn't read music, so he put it up there in front of me. And he got 30 pieces, orchestra, studio, strings and horns and all kinds of people. And we started playing, "Hey, what you played last night? See, this is what you played." Trying to show him on the paper what I played. And I got really embarrassed because he loved the way I played, and I played, but I didn't know how to read music. So I went to City College. First I went to a guitar teacher. Supposed to be one that teaches all the people in LA. I went and sit down with this guy about 30 minutes, and Then he told me I had my guitar here in front of me. He said, well, let me see what you can do. So I pick up my guitar, and he said, what's this? I said, what? He said, where you holding the guitar? I said, yeah. He said, you hold it back. I said, yeah, this is the way I play it. He said, not in here you won't. I said, at least let me show you what I can do. No, not in here you're not. I said, let me play. He picked me up and threw me out of the office. So I went home, sat on my couch and cried. So after that, I decided, and going through all this with Gene Page, I decided I'd go to City College and learn music theory. And within a year, I took his job. And most people wouldn't even record. A lot of people just wouldn't record without me. Because I had something special on the guitar. Because I'm playing it bottom side up with a sound different than everybody else. I guess that's it for that.
You won an award from a good friend of mine, Bob Davis, who started Soul Patrol.
Yeah.
And Soul Patrol is great because it keeps the legends alive.
Yeah.
And it keeps the music alive.
Yeah.
And you were talking, I was on YouTube, and you were discussing about real music and the power of a real drum as opposed to a drum machine.
Yes.
Please explain the power of real music in your opinion.
Well, of course, you kind of, if you computerize music, you basically, the computer has no feeling, so you take the heart out of it. Well, the Africans, I read a book called Endowing My Children. I had this book on my shelf for about 3 or 4 years. Somebody gave it to me as a present. And I was on a reading spree one time, and I ran out of stuff to read. And the title didn't appeal to me, Endowing My Children. So I didn't know what it meant. So one night I ran out of stuff to read. I said, well, let me look at this book. So I took the book and I opened it up, and it says, endowing means let's sit down and talk about everything that's in existence. And before then, I never even dreamed of how fantastic the African people are, how much they know, how much spirituality they have. And there's a passage in there about the drum. Mm-hmm. And the drum, he explained, it can make you do anything. It can make you go to war. They play a drum and people get in, they give them drugs and get in a frenzy. They go off and they fight, get their head cut off, and they still running around trying to fight. That's how strong our drums are. The drums can make you laugh, they can make you cry, they can make you feel emotions. There's nothing like the drum. You get the rhythm of the drum within you. Whatever rhythm the drum is playing, your heart synchronizes with it. So these guys riding around here in these cars, boom, 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 with these fake drums, I almost guarantee you they won't live to be 50. Because that music, those signals or electric signals they're receiving is so strong, it pumps their heart to the degree that it'll explode in time, or it'll expand. Because, and I know for sure, that they told me back in the mid-'80s, if you don't get a drum machine and an electric keyboard, you might as well get out of the business. So I went and got me a drum machine and an electric keyboard. I knew better, but I did it. In about 6 months, I'm recording this album, me and this guy, Basic Green. In about 6 months, I got so sick. I had the flu for so long, it wouldn't go away. I went to the doctor. The doctor checked me out. Said, you know, I can't find nothing wrong. Said, let me take an EKG. So she took the EKG. She came back with a sheet of paper with all zeros and ones on it. Said, Mr. Wright, you better sit down. She sat me down at the table. She said, this is a graphic of your heart. She said, you got to see that thing there on the side of your heart? I had something grew on the side of my heart. She said, whatever you're doing, I don't know what you're doing. But if you don't quit, you're gonna die. And fortunately, I had read that book, and I understood how the drum worked with the heart. That electric drum that through my heart, a new muscle on the side. So
Wow.
I had to quit messing with that thing, and eventually I healed. But every time I hear it, my arm goes to sleep because it's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know you're out performing live again, so that's good news for the world. Are you also in the studio making new music? And how is your music different today from the Charles Wright of 1970?
I tell you the truth, it's a mixture of everything I've ever done. I don't think changing would do anything. Either I got it or I don't got it. I got new songs. They're all new songs, new rhythm and new grooves. But I got some of my doo-wop type stuff in there, and I got some of my express yourself type stuff in there. So that's what I do. Since me trying to change and make it something that it ain't supposed to be, that's what I do.
So do what you do, be who you are.
I can't do nothing else, really.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, in reading this book, Up From Where We Come, I love your dad, man. I can't wait to start talking about him. I love him, man.
Thank you.
Did your parents ever get a chance to see you perform and witness your success?
Mr. Miles convinced my father that anything, that all African-based music was the devil's music. And my father went for it.
Because your dad was a pastor, right? Wasn't he a preacher?
He also convinced him to do that, I think. But he convinced my father that this was the devil's music. And my father went for it and taught my whole family the same thing. So my father and my mother, they saw me once perform.
Tell me about that. They saw you where?
I sent them a limousine to take them to Disneyland when I was performing at Disneyland. Last night in the Pips. And I know we were fantastic, but all they had to say was, we saw you jumping up and down up there. That's the truth. I can't paint it no other way.
But they were happy, right?
I have a song called Come In. You ever hear Come In?
No, sir.
All men are truly brothers. Why can't we love one another?
Yes, I heard that song. Yes.
Yeah, it's been done by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister told me, I did that song on the Della Reese show one day. And after I did it, Della Reese did it, Les McCann did it, Ray Charles did it. Lots of people just recorded the song, tried to beat me to it, getting a hit on it. But nobody would get a hit on it because they ain't saying what society wants to say. But when I did that, my sister told me, first time, my father, he cried by watching that on TV.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it came from his son.
Well, and it also proved that I'm not singing the devil's music. I'm singing the people's music.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about this great book, Up From Where We Come. What inspired it, and how did you choose the title of this great book?
I've been writing that book since 4 years ago. I started. I write a little, and then sometimes I get burned out and I just walk away from it. And I don't think about it for a while, and then I get thinking about doing it again. And I just did like that over the years. So that's how I was inspired to do it. I just always wanted to write my life story. And the title of it could have a question mark behind it. That's why people need to read it, because we haven't really come that far. We've made some progress, But in all actuality, I was watching yesterday some old footage about slavery and everything. And we be coming along like Reconstruction. We were doing just pretty good there. Then some president, and he changed the laws and we go right back another step. It was redone now, I think. Now I'm praying that Mr. Trump would live up to his word, what he said he would do for black people. I don't particularly believe it, but I'm hoping he does. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, it's going backwards. So we need to know where we come from so we can cut out a road for ourselves where we're going. Because if we don't love ourselves, ain't nobody else gonna love us.
Oh, absolutely. And that's been proven throughout history. You said in your book that your father was your biggest fan.
No, I was his biggest fan.
Oh, okay. So I got that wrong. Okay, you was his biggest fan.
Yes, I was.
Okay, well, tell us why your dad was so special to you.
Well, until I was 6 years old, my daddy was everything. I mean, by that time I had 8, 9 siblings, but I loved spending time with my father. I would help him around the house when he had things to do. And he thought I was going to be my sister's counterpart. My sister, just amazed, picked cotton like a machine. And he thought, my brothers, they didn't like it. So he thought I was going to be out there, be the one that's really going to go get it. Mm-hmm. And until I was 6 years old, he finally let me go to the field. I've been begging him all the time. Let me go. When he took me out there that day, it was disaster. I hated it. I couldn't really deal with it. And he turned on me. That's a chapter in there called Fork in the Road. And from then on, he was disappointed, I guess, that I didn't come up to par of what he wanted as a son who could outdo my sister. And my other brothers, my older brothers, they didn't like picking cotton for free. So nobody liked it, but my sister, it seemed. And so he turned against me. And after I got about 8, he demanded 100 pounds a day, and I never could get it. And every time I didn't get it, he whipped me. So I basically got a whipping every weekday. Mm-hmm. He was taking out his frustrations on me, which Mr. Miles was giving him hell, and I think he was giving me hell as a result. So he had to pick on somebody because we really were not having a good time in the cotton patch.
Mm-hmm. And your dad was under so much pressure.
Lots of pressure.
So much pressure.
Yeah.
Being from Clarksdale, Mississippi, and experiencing that level of blatant racism and seeing what your dad went through, how did that experience prepare you for life and the music business in general? And then as a child, seeing your dad go through that, Mr. Miles, cursing him or just disrespecting him or whatever, what was going on in your mind? And then when you think about your dad today, and God rest his soul, he's not here, but I know you think about it. What do you think about? Because that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, but frankly, I was thinking my father shouldn't take some of the stuff he had to take, but I'm sure he had to take it, but I didn't think he should take it. I was, I challenged Mr. Miles with a stick one day.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. It taught me to be strong and to accept humiliation, which I still do some from time to time, because we all have to from time to time. And taught me take care of my business, so I won't have to fall in that kind of a situation because it's out there. If you don't look out, you can fall into a lot of traps. You know, I watch a lot of entertainers when I finally got into this business. I watched a lot of guys. There were potholes. I watched them step in them blindly. You know, and I said, I'm not gonna step in that pothole. I'm not gonna get in that. Oh no, I'm not. Then one day I looked up, I was in a pothole myself. This business is really tricky and it's tough, so you don't stay alert and keep your eye on the prize, you lose out, you know. So I'm thank God. Most of my compadres in this business, at least a lot of them, they came along in my era, they lost out. They end up getting hooked on something they had no business on. And they all get in their little corner. We can't get together and do nothing because everybody's in their corner doing their own little dirt, you know. And I try to stay clear of all of that. And I admire Leon Haywood. For he was one guy who saved his money. He bought some commercial property down here on Crenshaw. He bought a home. He did very well for himself. Yeah, so.
Leon Haywood.
Leon Haywood, yeah. But you know, a lot of guys, you know, they sold their publishers so they could get high on crack and stuff. You know, that's a deep pothole to fall into, but people get caught up in that and all kind of other drugs, you know. And I tried to avoid that. And, you know, I smoke a little weed here and there, but every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
That's for my creative purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I don't want to deal with any kind of dope.
Yeah, good, smart choice on that. And let's talk about your mom. Tell us about your mother who, how she was able to keep the family together in the shack that you guys lived in on that plantation.
Well, my mother was pretty resilient. But she was telling my father way back, you know, that Mr. Miles was using him and he really should do something different, try something different. But my father had been hung up in that system so long, I don't think he even dreamed there was a way out. But then I had a sister, my oldest sister, Inez.
Mm-hmm.
She and her boyfriend ran off Mississippi and came to California. He had some relatives out here. And well, you know, now California is the second biggest cotton state. Mississippi is number one, California is number two. But they were fortunate enough to land in LA. But we have other relatives landing in Bakersfield, where there's cotton fields. But anyway, my mother came out here to visit them. My sister sent for her, kind of against my father's will. He thought it was outrageous. Told me, you going to California? What are you talking about? But she finally talked him into letting her come visit her daughter. And she came back and she was never happy again in the cotton patch. And she kept threatening my father that she's gonna take this female girl, female children, and leave if he didn't get out of this trap with Mr. Miles. So we finally did. We moved out of that trap into another one, which was worse. Because this guy, his plantation was at a dump, the Clarksdale City dump. And his son had a pig pen. Oh man.
Yeah. Those memories.
About 100 feet from where the house was. And he fed them pigs everything, including rotten fish heads. He fed me on the fish market. Man, that smell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had to endure that for 2 years.
But you know, a lot of times when you go through things like that, would you say that's God building your character up? Because, you know, people say, well, why does God allow us to experience those tragic moments, those tragedies and things like that? And you know what? And what's interesting is that God even gets the glory through tragedies. That's the kind of God that he is. But so when I look at, because when I read this book, hey, I cried too. And matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was ready to fight. I was ready to fight reading this book. But I understand from a spiritual standpoint that
I didn't want to make you do that, though. Go on.
But no, it's a good thing because God is good all the time. Yeah. And look what he's done for you. Through all the fish heads and all that tragic stuff in terms of your life. And that's why people, please read this book because, you know, a lot of times people see entertainers, but they never know what they went through to get where they are.
I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry about expressing yourself. and then we're talking about, you're expressing yourself. And we're talking about deep feelings here. We're talking about your family, your parents, that I know that you still think about today. You and your mother had a funny little back and forth about pies. Oh, yeah. And man, when I was reading that, and I already know, look, I never met your mom, but I know she can cook.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I know she can cook. And so what was that all about? Like, you know, when you told your mom, hey, the pie, she asked, well, whose pies are these? So, well, these are my pies. And then two, and I thought this was a pretty good question here. Do you have your mother's pie recipe in your family today?
I don't know. One of my sisters can do it. But it might be funny to you, but it wasn't funny to me because I got to whip it. But my mother used to cook these desserts she cooked. Sometimes she'd forget and leave it on top of the stove. And my brother and I would have a ball while they were in the cotton patch because I was babysitting my brother. And this particular time, I mean, pie, it looked so good and it just looked like it deserved my attention. so me and my brother, we ate a whole lot of pie that day. And my mother came home and she was angry, you know, because she had labored over those pies the night before. And she said, who ate my pies? And she looked dead at me. I told her, my pies. So anyway, she ended up, after I told her 4 or 5 times, she ended up showing me whose pies they were. She whipped me about it. And you have to read the chapter, but yeah.
Oh, it's a great book. Please, ladies and gentlemen, get this book up from where we've come. It's a lot of interesting and educational things in this book. Please get it. And again, you can get this book at Amazon.com. I actually bought a copy on Amazon. Mr. Wright, you're welcome, man. My pleasure. Also, too, can you buy this book on your website?
Yeah, but we have our website redone right now. It won't be ready until the 15th of June. So I wouldn't suggest somebody go there until it's finished.
Okay, nice. So when it's finished, have your team email KGFI and we'll make sure we're going to put this book on our social media.
Appreciate it.
On our website.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and then when you get your website done, we're going to put the information in terms of your website. Okay? Because we love you and respect you, man.
Thank you.
Tell us the significance of your father coming home with that brand new car, man.
It wasn't new.
It wasn't. Oh, it wasn't new.
It was a used car.
Okay, it was a 1936 Chevrolet 4-door sedan.
Yeah, this was somewhere like 1940, 45, 42 or 3 or something like that.
And as far as I'm concerned, your father deserved that car and plenty more, all of what he's done on that plantation. And also the disrespect he endured was terrible. What I love most of all about him is that he maintained his dignity through all of the bigotry and hate, you know. So I know you have to be very proud of that, because I'm very proud of it, you know, of how he maintained himself. And I understand, because back in those days, look, if your dad, because he was a man's man, if your dad had responded differently, then
you could end up dead.
Well, you know, that's how the story goes. That's how the story goes. So that car, you remember that car, huh?
Oh yeah, I remember that car. The first car I ever rode in. Yeah, we seen a lot of cars pass Shack, but I never dreamed of riding in it. My father pulled up in that car, told Frankie D and me to jump in the back seat.
Yeah.
He drove us out in the field where everybody was working to the cotton. And that car caused us some problems too, caused my father a few problems.
Mm-hmm. What was the problems? Because they weren't used to seeing a black man driving that kind of car?
No. He was driving another lady in that car, and he got busted.
Okay.
My mother found out about it, and forced him to sell the car. And he sold it to probably the worst guy he could sell it to. But this guy always wanted the car anyway. He was jealous of my father, the fat white boy. And he got the car and the lady too. Yeah, and caused my father a lot of misery. Which is, you know, I'll explain it all in there. And my mother and father stayed together as a result of what happened there. So
I hear that you're working on a follow-up book, Up From Where We Come. Can you tell us a little bit about that follow-up?
It's gonna be potent. I can tell you that. It's gonna be mostly about, some parts of it about my junior high school and high school years, how I got started in the music industry, which there's a guy, you never hear his music in LA anymore, who took me on this wing and put me in this business. His name is Jesse Bellman. You know who Jesse Bellman is?
Yes, sir.
Shane. Jesse Bellman is the reason most everybody in LA, all of us, or at least, and a lot of most black people and some white people are in the industry, because he led the way for all of us. He had hit records, and he had a lot of hit records, one of the assumed names, because he knew the company wouldn't pay him. He was signed with this company, but he had to do something. He did music, he just couldn't help it. He recorded songs under assumed name, but he had his own records for that. Good Night, My Love, you never heard that?
Good Night, My Love.
Good Night, My Love.
Yeah.
That's Jesse Bell.
Okay.
He wrote and recorded that. Guess who? Someone Really Loves You.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. He had a lot of hit records, but they stamped him out for some reason. And I heard him sing a song called One Little Blessing on the radio one day. So beautiful. I looked him up in the phone book. He was the only Bellman in LA. Mr. Bellman, when I finally got him, I said, I want to sing. I want to sound just like you. He said, get your own style, boy, and leave mine the F alone. I said, oh, I thought that'd be I thought it'd be something great. You know me sounding like you. He said, you ever hear Johnny Ace? I said, yeah. He said, I thought it'd be a compliment. I said, yeah. He said, well, how would you like it if I sounded like Johnny Ace? I said, oh no, you got to sound like. He said, if you don't get it now, boy, I'm gonna hang it up. I said, please don't hang up. I don't know what y'all doing. I wasn't even singing then, but I wanted to sing. I said, but I want to do it. I want to be a part of it. And he was gracious enough to let me come over to his house that Saturday afternoon to hear him rehearse with a group called the Turks, who also had records on the radio. I went over there, man, I had the best time I ever had. So I was hooked from there on. I came back and told my cousins, I went to Jezebel, and they didn't believe me. I went to his house. And so I started a group with them singing. And we finally got to be all right. So Jesse told me about this man at a studio in the neighborhood. So I went over there and told the man I want to audition my group when we got ready. He said, well, when you get together, come over. So I went over there, auditioned. My cousin sang like a songbird. And so he sang a couple of songs. And I got up to sing. He said, hold it. Listen, bro, don't you ever try this. You stay in the background. Don't you ever try to sing. I said, oh man, I felt so bad. And the cats were snickering at me. So after that, I went, there's a tunnel not far from the house. So I go in this tunnel every night and I practice. Finally, I wrote a song and I went over there and I played for this guy. And he said, oh man, you ain't the same guy. I can't believe I did that. He said, next time I go to the studio, whoever I record, you're going to be one of the artists I record. So I went to the studio, and he gave me 15 minutes to record 2 songs. One of them was named Eternally, the other one was Let God Be First. And I did the 2 songs. I wanted to do Eternally again, they wouldn't let me do it. And he pressed the records up. Little Charlie Wright, Eternally. And they sit on this floor for about 7 or 8 months. So I said, well, that's dead, I can't do this. And some disc jockey came along and heard it, and he liked it, but he wanted it to be a group name because there were a lot of groups out at the time. And so he took the record, put it on the radio that night, and it became a hot item in Los Angeles. And I did my first professional show about 2 months later, theater downtown, 19th Broadway, packed, 7 days. And that's how I started my career. Wow.
9th and Broadway. So back in those days, Broadway was hot place to play.
Yeah, oh yeah, that show had every hot artist in town on it.
What about Central? I heard Central Avenue was hot for black artists back then.
Before my time.
Okay.
I would have liked to have been there, but I'm glad I wouldn't. I'd be too old right now.
Mr. Wright, what was the best advice you ever received, and what advice would you give young musicians today trying to break into the industry as of today?
Tough industry today. I'm still trying to get a grasp on how to stream stuff, because selling records, selling CDs is already something like that thing in the past. So I can't tell you anything but be true to yourself and be true to your artistry. If you can, make some real music with real musicians and make that a part of your agenda, because that's what we need today. And that's what we should be doing. And that's what I'm trying to do. Keep the thing alive. It's going to be here because ain't nobody going to beat us doing what we've done already. So they have to go back, and you guys are going back and you sampling what we did. Come up with your own stuff now. We need to take it further. Let's go.
You know, Mr. Wright, the way you're talking, Prince was basically saying the same thing about real music and things like that. Can you touch on what Prince was talking about?
Honestly, if I tell you the truth, I didn't hear him say it. So I don't know what he was saying. All I know is what I feel in my heart and what I'm saying. And I do listen to Prince's music. Matter of fact, I've been watching him on video recently. Him and Snoop Dogg. I got a whole weekend of Snoop Dogg last weekend. And I see where he's coming from. He knows where it's at. Yeah.
If Charles Wright today could have a conversation with little Charles Wright, just arriving in the late 1950s, Los Angeles, fresh from picking cotton in Mississippi. What would he tell him?
Once again, I tell him, be true to himself. I can't give you no better. If you be true to yourself, and you're going to be true to everybody else, and you can't go wrong.
Because if you're true to yourself, you can express yourself better.
Got that right.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mr. Charles Wright. Please get this book, Up From Where We Come. It's a great, great book. You will enjoy reading it. I recommend that you can go to Google. As a matter of fact, you can go to Google, type in the title, Up From Where We Come, and the book will come up, and it would take you where you can purchase the book, like Amazon and other bookstores across the country. This man is just a great man, and Mr. Wright, thank you for having KGFI here. We appreciate you, and I just want you to know, KGFI, we will always play your music because what KGFI represent, we represent music today, yesterday, and forever.
Fantastic.
And your generation, I'm not just saying this, you know it's true, but that soulness that you guys bring, you, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, the Jacksons and things like that, that music lives on forever. As a matter of fact, the young people, actually, their music is sampled in the young people music today. But KGFI will always support Mr. Charles Wright. We will always play your music.
Thank you.
Please know that. Thank you again. KGFI Radio, we'll see you next time. And remember, KGFI, where legends are heard.